today's story, which ties into what we're learning by Shgocha Pratis. So we've been talking about on Friday. We read this beautiful. You recall the Fabregas of Shabbos Pashas B'Shalach Yud Beishvat, 1954 was a landmark Fabregas. It went very, very late. The Shabbos after Yud Shvat, and there were guests there, and the Rebbe spoke to private people in between the sichos, some of which is recorded for posterity for us. I actually called Avraham Shem Tov and Beryl. They were there. If they remember some of this, and they did. They did. So here's an interesting, fascinating exchange that happened towards the end of the Fabregas. I'll read a few things here. So they write in footnote, the footnote that the Rebbe, Fabregas went very long, and the Rebbe spoke to some people, and amongst that was as follows. So the Rashag, the Rebbe's brother-in-law, just these are snippets here. The Rashag asked for a bracha for the yearly dinner that Rebbe's brother-in-law, the Frierdiker, appointed him in charge of Tomchei Temimim. All of them actually, worldwide really, starting with the central one in 770 and all of the branches. So he used to make an annual dinner. So he asked for a bracha for Atzlach in the dinner. The Rebbe's answer: when you will bring in more Talmidim, then you'll have also additional hashpah for Atzlach, additional blessing for success. So he says to the Rebbe, I want a bracha, an unconditional bracha. And it was saying, the bracha depends on you have to bring in more Talmidim. The Rebbe's answer, and this is really unbelievable because what he's saying now, almost never said such things. This is the early years, and it's to the Rashag. And he says, I give over what is told to me. This is really heavy. Then, one of the Choshev Chassidim, I tell you it was Pina Altays. Pina Altays, we'll talk about him one day too. I've told you stories about him, a very colorful Chassid from the Altays family, which are very close to the Beis Harav. His uncle was the Shadchan, in fact, of the Rebbe Shidduch. He's the one that put it together. I mean, the Rebbe Rashab wanted it for his granddaughter, our Rebbe, but he's the one that spoke the Shidduch to the Frierdiker Rebbe. Very, very, his uncle, Elachayim. And this Pina, he's my great uncle's brother. He came to Australia when I was a child, but I don't remember. The early 60s. So he was older than the Rebbe. He was a very colorful person. I'll just tell you one thing about him. He was a big joker, a tremendous sense of humor. But by the Fabregas, he would cry a lot. Extremely musical. They're from Nikolaev, the famous city in Russia where the Rebbe was born. It's a musical city that produced many composers of the most beautiful Chabad Nigunim, composed by many Chassidim there, including the Rebbe's grandfather. So by the Fabregas, he would sing the Nigunim. And actually, there's a tape of 10 Nigunim that he sang. Pina sang. In recording, he recorded, not by Fabregas. And he would say to the Chassidim that when his time comes to put him under, that the Chassidim should come with a bottle of mashke, they should say l'chaim, and pour some in for him as well, and they did that. You know the Heschel Zeitlin is similar. Heschel Zeitlin, the beloved Sheikhet here in Montreal, mashpia to many, he was truly included for the merit that the time that we had him amongst us. It was Yoitzis coming up, Dalit Shvat, I think. After Shvat, you're down with Shvat, you sure? Yeah. You're down with Shvat. So anyway, so he was a famous niggin that he liked, Michal Zlotchev's niggin, and he asked that it should be sung at his, and we did. Eisenbach started singing it, I remember we were there, and what he sang it. Anyway, so this Pina Altays, so the Rebbe's been speaking like this. The Rebbe, it's getting late, but he had established in Israel in 1951, very early in the Tzid Agudas Chabad, the Lubavitch Youth Organization, which is the foundation of Shlichus Chabad houses, etc. And it was only later, 1955, that he established it in America. But he was talking about it a lot and so on. So this Pina says to the Rebbe, because he had spoken previously in that Fabregas about Tzid Agudas Chabad, the youth. And I think the Rebbe said it's not the age, but it's the commitment, the idealism of youth. Maybe he said another occasion. I have to look at it. Anyway, so he says to the Rebbe that the Rebbe should take him in. He wants to be a member of the Rebbe's Chabad youth. The Rebbe says to him, what can I do? That the Rebbe, meaning the Fittig Rebbe, made you an officer. And I'm talking about, the foot soldiers. You're an officer. I have to say, he was appointed by the Fittig Rebbe as the Chabad representative in Israel. And he was the one with tremendous connections with the government. He's the one that the whole Kvar Chabad began, that they got Kvar Chabad given to Chabad Chassidim. It's called something else then, I forgot, Kvar Saba something. And funding, etc. It was a huge achievement. He was a much beloved figure, all the way up in government. So the Rebbe says to me, you were appointed by the Rebbe as an officer. He doesn't skip a beat. So he says, so make me a general. So the Rebbe says to him that a general and the simple foot soldier in the front, they're connected. No tzchalos and b'seifim, beginning is wage in the end. This is Yirei Ilah. It's not about them at all. It's about the melucha. Whereas an officer doesn't continue. An officer has a career that he's building. The foot soldier knows from nothing. It's in the front, give up his life. The general already, it's simply the state, it's the melucha. All right, we'll stop here. And there's something else that Rebbe says to him. He's a cliffhanger, and he turns to the older Chassidim behind him, and he says, "You hear? That means you." And you'll see how the Rebbe reacts to what he says when he turns to the older Chassidim. The Rebbe is talking to you. He says he took mashke. You should know it. He was older than the Rebbe, and this is an intimate time then, 1954. But it's very beautiful. We'll share that in Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow.